Wolfenstein II: The New Colossus picked quite the year to release its sequel, didn't it? But marketing and current events aside, it is great to see a AAA single-player first-person shooter with no tacked-on multiplayer or microtransactions. Even better, the game was an excellent sequel with one of the best shooter campaigns in years. Just look at how terrible I am. How could you not be convinced? Now, Wolfenstein II: The New Colossus picks up exactly where the first game left off and even includes a thorough recap for new players. The main point driven home is that the hero, William B.J. Blazkowicz, is on death's doorstep. The ragtag group you assembled and got to know in the first game tried their best to keep him alive and continue taking down the Nazis, but he's a shell of his former self. His mind flashes back to his childhood upbringing and his racist and abusive father, and then flashes to the present, where Anya is pregnant with his children and he doesn't think he'll live to help raise them. This guilt of the potential future and the nagging sadness of the past haunt BJ for much of the game. This narrative thread is, surprisingly, brought into the gameplay. In his weakened state, BJ spends the opening of the game in a wheelchair, and is only later granted movement through a suit of power armor introduced previously. The following escapades happen so quickly he doesn't have time to take the suit off, and he fears that if he does, it will be the end. This is powerful and thought-provoking stuff that you'll hear through BJ's internal monologue, and it is something a lesser game would not include at all. The strength of this narrative is further helped by its sheer confidence. Wolfenstein 2 goes there. It shocks, awes, and left me wanting more in the best ways possible. Now, the only downside to such a personal tale having a large role in the plot is that taking down the Nazi regime is more of an added bonus rather than the overt goal. I'm okay with that, but it did make the final act abrupt, and some characters have moments that were not earned because of this. Wolfenstein: The New Order had a similar problem with Bombate, but it's much more obvious here, and I'm being intentionally vague through all of this because Wolfenstein 2 is one hell of a ride. Several scenes left me so stunned and genuinely impressed that I'm trying my best to avoid spoiling any of it at all. It's great. It's great. And don't worry, the Fergat or Wyatt timeline choice from the first game is still presented at the start of this one. It's still relevant, and it features enough changes to warrant another playthrough if you're so inclined. I only played about a third of another timeline and enjoyed the differences quite a bit. However, nothing I saw made the core narrative different at all. In fact, there were very obvious points where Fergus or Wyatt would talk with BJ and no one else at length, and then someone else interjects, and the scene proceeds as normal with less interaction from them. It's expected, but can feel awkward if you are looking for it. The excellent and payoff-filled narrative comes paired with some of the most fun shooting I've had in a long time. It cannot be overstated how great it is to dual-wield shotguns and mow down Nazis trapped in a tight corridor, blood, limbs, and shell casings littering the floor. All of the mechanics from the first return and give players even more options than before. Dual wielding has been enhanced, allowing you to pair up any two of your weapons together to make BJ an efficient killing machine. Also returning are the various perks that are leveled up by performing specific actions. Take down more enemies silently and you'll be able to move more quickly when crouched, kill more Nazis with the grenades and you can carry more, and so on. Wolfenstein 2 constantly gives you feedback about your progress with these perks regardless of how you play, giving it the feel of leveling up in an RPG. Don't worry, it completely complements all the shooting and all the Nazi killing. It's not all going in with guns blazing though. Leaning up and around cover is still as fast and fun as ever, and is often an integral strategic element. Adding to that, the stealth mechanics are as fun as they are gruesome. Throwing knives is so 2014. We've moved on to axes now, and that simple change is unbelievably fun. Sneaking behind an enemy unseen lets you initiate a takedown, and each one is brutal, often leaving severed arms and legs thrown about the ground like a child who just didn't want to pick up their toys. Even the normal melee attacks are insta-kill moves and leave the enemy in shambles. It's always satisfying, and I'd go out of my way just to watch a Nazi die a horrible death. Plus, you could throw these axes ridiculous distances, and nailing a headshot from downtown is exhilarating. Almost every level has several commanders on patrol that will sound the alarm if they spot BJ, but take them out unseen and reinforcements can't flood the battlefield. It's a great reward and something you should always attempt, even if the enemy routes can be difficult to plot sometimes. Thankfully, Wolfenstein 2 now lets you save at any point, and that will improve your chances. More importantly, manual saves prevent these sometimes obnoxiously far apart checkpoints from being too much of a slog. The game is difficult, not unfair, but a handful of difficulty spikes lessened what would have been incredible set-piece moments. forcing the player to, in an entirely new area, survive waves of enemies with no time to prepare never felt quite right to me. I wasn't trapped in a corner, I was let loose in the open, with enemies all around and explosive barrels peppered about. I won't claim to be a great shooter player, but when I died more than twice at a given checkpoint, I'd rethink my strategy and get past it. The sections I'm talking about made that impossible, and even crazier, when I did succeed, it was either because of manual saves or dumb luck. And this struggle was also antithetical to what was going on narrative-wise. Thankfully, these moments are few and far between. Shooting through Nazis' large armored battlesuits and androids is a buttery smooth experience the rest of the time. The timeline choice at the beginning of Wolfenstein II also changes which utility weapon you get. Gone are the days of awkwardly cutting square holes in fences and grates. Now, depending on the timeline, you'll either disintegrate the wall instantly with a laser, or blow it up with what is essentially a C4 launcher. Both weapons are very powerful, but have limited ammo supplies that can be refilled at the occasional wall-mounted station. Not perfect at this yet. In addition to normal weapons, there are 4 heavy weapons that are usually found on the corpse of its previous owner after an intense and strategic battle. They are immensely powerful and incredibly fun to use. Disintegrating Nazis from across the room with a laser, sending 30 bullets a second into a Nazi-filled hallway, launching fire over a car to melt the flesh off a hiding Nazi, or firing an insta-kill bomb onto some backwards-ass racist, homophobic, bigot Nazi to ruin their day is always a good time. Carrying these weapons slows you down, and the ammo is scarce, but it could be exactly what you need to turn the tide of battle. However, not everything is perfect on the shooting front. Armor, health, and ammo are almost always constantly littered on the ground. It's just everywhere. Walking over them will pick them up automatically, but only when you're very close. Therefore, I found myself constantly pressing a button to pick up these power-ups. It's not the worst thing in the world, but it's about as fun as picking up a spilled deck of cards. And you need these items to survive, so it's not like you can just ignore it, walk on by. Which brings me to the health system, which I feel like I have to explain in way too much detail. For much of the game, 50 is the highest your health will regenerate to, but this can be expanded to 200 through pickups. Your health will slowly drain back to 50 though. There's also armor, which won't drain and goes from 0 to 200. I like this system overall as it is a throwback to FPS games of yore. However, because of the high variance of these numbers and lack of any visual representation beyond the on-screen number, it can make the game feel uneven. Having max health and armor makes you a god, but only having 50 health is pitiful. And in a game where a Nazi with a shotgun could come behind you and kill you instantly, it can lessen the fun. Not knowing exactly how many shots you can take at any given time before you have to retreat is confusing. And I don't think it's worth having the godlike heights of the health and armor system if it's going to lead to unexpected deaths. When not shooting or enjoying the story, seen here, the levels offer plenty of secrets to find. Notes, gold, records, concept art, and more are scattered about in high numbers. There's also hidden upgrade kits that allow you to upgrade your weapons in many different ways. Maybe it's a silencer for the pistol, double clip size for the shotgun, or armor-piercing rounds for the machine gun. Roughly halfway through the game, there is a choice between 3 different enhancements that affect combat and traversal. It might sound like a tough choice at first, but through side missions you can obtain all 3 and even power them up further. It's a great idea and I loved the extra perks and abilities, but I won't spoil them here. There's a lot to spoil. I think going in fresh is very good for this game, since it's only like 12 hours. All commanders you take out drop Enigma codes, which can be used to attempt a minigame to open up optional side missions. Almost every single main story level is replayable through these missions, letting you pick up any missed collectibles in addition to killing a new target commander. Naturally, enemies are back patrolling, and oftentimes you have to go through the level backwards, which keeps it somewhat fresh. It's a great touch that allows you to have more fun with the gunplay after or before the credits roll. Even though I think the ending mission is a tad abrupt, I really enjoyed the ride. It's full of memorable moments in both the story and gameplay that I'll be thinking about for a while. Seeing members of the KKK in full regalia walk around the streets of the US is haunting, but the game doesn't go into enough detail. The specifics of Nazi occupation and the transition of power are not expanded on much, despite being incredibly interesting aspects of this whole concept. If you hoped, / were afraid, Wolfenstein II was going to have some grand message or hidden meaning in the plot in relation to the current political climate, you'll either be disappointed or relieved by its very simple message: Nazis are bad. It's what the series has been about for like 30 years now, after all. With one of the more memorable campaigns in years, and gunplay that is nothing if not succulent, Wolfenstein II: The New Colossus is truly something special. Also, you can hurl an axe across the map into an unsuspecting Nazi's face, and that's sure to brighten anyone's day. Haunting because they look like ghosts? Ooh. I like it though, but man, there's an optional side mission where you get to kill members of the KKK. And it's funny because it's like, why are they here? Oh, they're here just because you get to kill them. Like, that's the only reason. Because when you see them in the campaign, you can't kill them. It's like a story sequence. I'm like, why are these KKK guys here with guns? And I'm like, I'm just gonna throw axes at them. It's stupid fun to throw axes in this game, and I really enjoyed it. I do think I was a little down on it for a bit because of the weird difficulty spikes. Like, there's just points in this game that are so obnoxious. Of like, why wasn't there a checkpoint here? Or why is there one guy? Like, if you killed, let's say there was 10 guys in a room, right? And you killed 9 of them. And like you can't find the one guy and you think he's dead. You don't even know he's there. So you're walking around and you'll get killed by this one guy and somehow you'll have to redo the whole encounter, even though you've been walking around safely for minutes and minutes. It's just a little weird sometimes. Hey, Touchstones. But other than that, I love the story, and it's cool to see a game do these moments. I kept having like, oh, this is happening, and then it would like pull the rug out on you, like, oh, this is happening like this. And there's also one story mission that does what I wanted a level in Titanfall 2 to do, and I outlined, I think I made a video about this a year ago, about Titanfall 2 and like how that assembly line level should have played out to be actually super cool. It's only a 5-minute sequence in this game, but they really do what I wanted them to do in Titanfall 2, and I was super pleased by that. It's also gorgeous. I managed to do a whole review. Didn't mention the graphics really. Pretty good. The story scenes are lengthy, and I think it's great that they allow it to do that. It's not, oh, now you got to shoot a bunch of random things for 5 minutes just because we thought you might get bored. Like, no, it tells its story, and it's a really compelling tale. I think there was that one comment of like speedrunners were speedrunning the game, and it's like, oh, the story stuff is 3 hours or something. I'm like, I'm not surprised. There was a lot to get through, and it's impressive to see something like this it's all good, and I really enjoyed watching it in a first-person shooter campaign that isn't, The Last of Us or whatever. Really, really good stuff. But I know, Delphox, I know you're here for Mario, so we'll go to Mario. We'll also go and cut this off before there's a brutal beheading on the screen, because maybe we should just not, right? I think so.